hello and welcome to my fourth knitting wrap-up. So this is going to be the wrap-up or podcast episode for the month of April. First of all, I've been MIA for a little bit because school has started up again where I live, and so I've been quite busy. I think the last video that I uploaded was actually my March knitting wrap-up, and since then I've just been too busy to film and also kind of too busy to knit, which is why I didn't really want to make a podcast. But because there's been such a long break, I thought I'd just make a short, sweet little video showing you what I've been working on. So today I have 3 finished objects to share with you. However, I only have one with me right now. So this is not in chronological order. I think I'm gonna go and start with the one that I most recently finished, which is what I'm wearing. This is the Ophelia Blouse by Knits here on YouTube, or I believe her name's Tamara. I always get it wrong, Tamara Jordan, I think. So this is, I'm gonna come closer. This is a short-sleeved blouse. So this has a beautiful lace detailing around all of the edges, and it also has a quite form-fitting fit. So there's a lot of shaping for the waist and the hips and the bust to make it fit well, so it has a very little positive ease. This is, I think, like the most form-fitting piece I've ever made, and it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. So the pattern is very well written. It has instructions on how to do it and then also on how to alter it to your own measurements, which I think is great. I do think you need a little bit of experience. I wouldn't recommend this to someone who's knitting a garment for the first time, but I think it's still, because it's explained quite well, you can do it as, I would say, like upper beginner, maybe lower intermediate. Yeah, so I knit the size 2, but I increased more for the bust and then decreased more for the waist. I was kind of between several sizes for the different measurements, so I did have to do some alterations, but I think it turned out really cute. I love it. I do have to admit, I'm not super comfortable with wearing it without anything underneath, but I think just having like a little cropped camisole underneath works super well, and it still looks really cute. What else do I have to say about this? I used the recommended yarn, which is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, held single, and then to hit gauge I actually had to size up, so I used 3mm needles instead of 2.75mm needles. Another alteration, or I wouldn't really call it an alteration, she suggested using smaller needles for the lace edging, which I did. I used 2.5mm for that. And then the crochet hook that I used for the picot was much smaller. It was a 1.75mm hook because I didn't have anything else. That's the lamest excuse ever, but I didn't have anything else and I didn't want to go out and buy a new crochet hook, and it worked out fine. So if you don't have the exact right crochet hook, just try it out. It will probably work out with a slightly different size. I really love this, so I tried to keep the sleeve so that you can see my tattoo, and it makes me really happy. If you hate it, that's fine. I love my little dinosaur. I know it's, I don't know what to call it. I know it's a little out there, but I love him, so don't say anything mean, please. Yeah, other than that, for the buttons, I just used some buttons that I had lying around that I stole from my mom a few months ago, because my mom has like this, I don't know if this is a universal experience, but my mom has this metal box of just random buttons that like some she bought, some she stole or like inherited from her mother, and it's just from a bunch of different sources, and it's so fun to just go through and pick out some. And they're free. So yeah, I got a few buttons from her and I used them for this. I chose to do it with quite a few buttons because, again, I'm not super comfortable with it being very open. I know there are samples with like only 2 buttons or 3, but I'm really happy having it quite buttoned up. And I think it's just a really cute piece to go out in the evening with your friends. I actually wore this for my birthday dinner because it was my birthday recently, and I wore this for the night out, and it was super cute. This color is the color Coal of the Knitting for All of Pure Silk. So I basically made an exact copycat version of the original piece by Starquest Knits, just because I thought it was so sleek and fancy. I did consider making a lighter version, but because this is a rather open gauge, so it's quite loose, I didn't really want to make it in white because I felt like it would look pretty holey, whereas like the black version I think looks fine. And it's also really light and really drapey. I do think blocking definitely helps with the drapes, so before I blocked it, it did sit quite weird in some areas and I was a little worried, but blocking helped and now it fits fine. I can show you the back as well. I think I've talked about this long enough. My final review is that I love it, and I think I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this in the summer. So now on to the second finished object. I'm gonna go to the side so I can insert footage here. I did take a video, and this is the Fortune sweater by PetiteKnit. It's one of her slightly older patterns. I think I checked and it came out in 2019. And this is a mohair sweater with a raglan construction and a eyelet design. That's why it's called the Fortune sweater. I think it's like the clover eyelet pattern is what it's called. I knit this in Drops Kid Silk, I believe in the color Blue Mist, which should be 06 or 08. I always forget the number code, but I knit this in the Drops Kid Silk, held double, and I knit this for my sister, which is why I don't have it here with me. In the last episode, I talked about how I wanted to finish it quickly to give it to her, and I did actually manage to finish it in time for her to wear it for Easter, which made me really happy, so she could immediately wear it. I did have some issues with the length. For some reason, I find it extremely hard to knit things for people who are taller or larger or just like not my body size, which is pretty much every person because I'm not even 5 foot tall. But I find it really hard because I'm always like, I need to make it that long, no, that can't be right, that looks way too long. And then it still ends up being short, which is what happened here. My sister doesn't really like her sweaters to be cropped, so I did my absolute hardest to not make it cropped. Like I checked on me, and when I thought, oh, I would like this length on me, I added several centimeters to make it fit her, but it was still too short. The sleeves as well, she wanted long sleeves where the pattern actually I think has kind of like 3/4 sleeves. They're, or maybe bracelet length, but they're not properly long sleeves. So I did make them longer than suggested, and they still came out a little bit too short. And the clip that where I'm wearing it, I think you can see that I would say the sweater fits me pretty well, which means it's kind of a little bit too short for my sister. I did end up blocking it, so all the pictures I took were before I blocked it because I didn't have time. But after that, I did end up blocking it for her and trying to like pull it a little bit longer, but that doesn't really work that well with mohair. I haven't talked to her since, so I'm hoping that that helped and that it's now closer to the length that she was hoping for. Otherwise, I still have some of the yarn left, so I might just bring the yarn the next time I go home and try to add a couple of centimeters of length. Other than that, I was pretty happy with the finished piece. Knitting it gave me a lot more grief. I believe I talked about this in my last podcast already, so I'm not going to go too much into detail, but somehow I ended up miscounting all the time for the placement of the eyelets. And so a lot of my patterns were kind of messed up or in the wrong spot. and I had to go back and fix it several times. So some parts were like, the tension was off because I had to go back and fix it. However, I would say that after blocking and finishing everything, it wasn't very obvious, even to me as the person who knit it. So I don't think anyone else would necessarily notice unless they're a knitter. So I'm hoping, or like I'm thinking it's not too bad, but yeah, for some reason, I still don't know why. It's not that complicated of a pattern, but I was just super overwhelmed by it. And also because it's mohair, you can't really frog it. I mean, you can, but I really did not want to, so I just kept going, which I'm glad I did. It turned out fine. My sister was really happy with it. She liked the color, and yeah, I'm happy she likes it, so that's what counts. For the third finished object that I wanted to talk about, I have the Riverbed socks by a designer that I still can't remember the name of. I'm so sorry. It's one of the patterns in the 52 Weeks of Socks books that I'm sure most of you will know, but if you don't, it's a book with 52 patterns of socks. I think it was originally published by Line, I don't know how you say it, but that's the original, I believe, Finnish publisher, and I have the English translation. So I knit the Riverbed socks from that, which is a DK weight faux cable / lace pattern. And I already talked about it again in my last podcast, but I don't love that pattern. I didn't realize that it was in reverse stockinette, which I also didn't realize I didn't like. So usually all the cable patterns that I've knit so far had like a little bit of lace surrounding it, but then the rest was stockinette, which is what I prefer. But this pattern was fully in reverse stockinette. So when I finished the first sock, I wasn't sure if I should continue, but my mom ended up really liking it, so I just ended up knitting the second sock and leaving them at home so my mom can wear them, which is again why I don't have them here today. I used a DK weight yarn from a local yarn store here, or rather it's a local yarn store chain, which is Wolle Rödel. I believe they're like kind of the most well-known, if not maybe even the only big yarn store chain in Germany. And I used their Strumpfwolle fashion color is what it's called, I believe. I think it's a really cool yarn because it's plied with 2 plies that have different colors. So I really like the effect that gives, and also the color gradient looks really cool because of that, because it's only one yarn, or like one of the plies that changes colors, so it looks very subtle. However, I realized I don't like working with DK sock yarn. These were like, I think the second pair of DK socks that I've ever made, but I really did not enjoy working on that. And I also realized I don't like wearing them because they're just so thick. I can't wear them in socks or in socks. Can't wear them in shoes or anything. And then also this yarn is not the softest. It's kind of more of a rougher yarn. So I think I would only suggest that type of yarn if you want to make house socks. So like socks you only wear at home, probably over another, like layered over another pair of socks to keep warm in the winter, where they're not right on your skin, and it's also fine if they are too bulky for shoes. Otherwise, I don't think I would use it again. I believe they have the same yarn in a 4-ply version, so a normal fingering weight version, which I might try, but I'm not sure yet. I still have so much stock yarn to get through that for now I should just probably not buy any other. Apart from the fact that I simply didn't love the pattern, I do think it's well written. It's an easy to memorize pattern repeat. I think it's only 6 rows, so it's really nice for when you just want to watch a show, or if you're on the train. I knit them when I was going home, so on the train it was a great project because I had memorized it pretty quickly and then I could just knit mindlessly. So that's all I have to say about my finished objects. Usually I would talk about my whips next, but I don't have anything to talk about really this time. I have the turtle dove shawl, but I haven't knitted on that at all, so it looks the exact same as it did in the last episode. Then I have 2 new whips going, but I'm working on separate videos for those, so kind of project vlog style videos for both of those, so I don't really want to show them to you. If you're curious and you want to see a sneak peek, you can head over to my Instagram, which I've linked down below and also in my bio, and you can follow me on there if you want to see what's going on. But if not, that's fine too. Other than that, you're gonna see those videos hopefully very soon. As I said, I'm a little bit busy with school right now, so I do think it's gonna take me a little bit longer, especially with project vlogs, because I have to wait until I'm finished with a piece. I do think they just take a few weeks for me to film, but it's really fun. It's a format that I haven't tried before, and I'm enjoying it a lot. So if you're curious and you want to see what I'm working on right now, or if you want to see the finished pieces, I would love for you to subscribe. One of those videos is going to be part of a new series that I kind of want to make, which is working through my stash yarn. I believe most of you are here because of my stash video that kind of went viral for my standards. I think it has 1,500 views, which is insane to me. So if you're interested in seeing what I'm actually making out of all those yarns that you saw in my stash video, I would love for you to subscribe and follow along. Again, I'm working on the first video of that series right now. It should be out in, I'm hoping, 2 or 3 weeks probably. If you've watched till here, thank you so much for spending time with me. I know this was a little bit of a shorter video for my standards, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. And if you're excited to see what I'm working on with my stash yarn, then I hope to see you again next time. Bye!